You're listening to the FitMIND FitBODY podcast, where we explore the connection between running and positive mental health. We do this by talking to runners from all walks of life who generously share their experiences with us. So you don't miss an episode, I've created an email list for you to join. Check the show notes for more details. Without further ado, I am your host, Michelle Frost. Let's get moving. In today's episode of the podcast, we have an incredible guest, someone that I have been very excited to get on to share with you, Erchana Murray-Bartlett. Erchana's journey from running as a little girl in the Yarra Valley to becoming an accomplished runner is truly inspiring. In this episode, Erchana shares how she transitioned from playing soccer to taking up running and taking it much more seriously, and then how moving to Melbourne and joining a local athletics club helped her to build lifelong friendships and a strong foundation in running. She also talks about her amazing achievement of running a marathon every day for 150 days to travel from Cape York to Melbourne. Plus, it made her a world record holder. Erchana's story is all about determination, resilience, and the joy of running. So lace up your shoes and get ready to be inspired. And let's dive into this conversation with Erchana Murray-Bartlett. Enjoy. Today on FitMIND FitBODY, I am super excited, like really excited, like a little kid excited, to talk to Erchana Murray-Bartlett. Hello. Did I do it right?
You nailed it. Yep, I've got one of those really tricky, weird pronunciation names and double surnames, and so you've nailed it.
Thank you. You're too kind, because we did do lots of practicing beforehand. That was helpful. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, to be released at the end of the show.
That's right. We should do that. I should do outtakes. That's a great idea.
Like a bloopers reel.
Exactly.
Across the year.
Yeah, that would be the funniest bit, I reckon. Mostly me stumbling on things. Anyway, okay. You're here obviously because you're an amazing runner doing amazing things. And as I said, I'm like a kid in a lolly shop because I've been really wanting to talk to you for quite some time now. When I discovered you on Instagram and then realized that we knew some people in common, which often gives me a little door into speaking to some awesome runners. So I'm very excited to have you here. Let's start with where you grew up, which is where I take all of my running guests. Where did you grow up, Erchana?
Well, I was born in Canberra, but I moved to the Yarra Valley in Victoria when I was about 5 or 6. And so I spent pretty much all of the childhood that I remember in the Yarra Valley. So large spaces of bushland and lots of rail trails and trails and I used to run to this bridge at the end of my street, and there was no stores. It was so regional. I used to run to this bridge, and I used to think I was the world's greatest runner. And I used to run there and come back home, and I used to do that every day. And when I was older and got a GPS watch, which we didn't have back in the 90s, I did the run, and it's only 1,500 meters. So it felt like a world away when I was, 12.
I did well. When I was 12, I was on King Island. I grew up on King Island, which is another very rural place. And I went back in my 30s and everything. I can remember thinking town it's got to be at least half an hour's drive away or whatever. It's like 3 minutes drive away. And the same with my running distances. So I totally understand that. It's weird.
Have you ever done the King Island Imperial race?
No, my neighbour started it that I grew up with. And I do want to go, but every time I think about it, I'm like, oh no, I've got an injury. I don't want to go and be, not do well.
Yeah, I've wanted to do it too. I've got some girlfriends that have done it in the past and have raved about it. And I keep trying to get there, but it for some reason hasn't happened. But maybe in the future.
It kind of sneaks up on you because it's in like March. And it's like you get over Christmas and then you kind of head towards, oh no, it's on now. And I kind of like, oh, I'm not really ready.
Yeah.
Need to put it in my calendar probably in the October or something, and then I will do it. I do need to do it though. Thank you for reminding me that. When you were a kid, did you grow up with siblings and things like that? Did you? Do you have
Yeah, yeah.
siblings?
I grew up with three sisters so there's four of us girls, and we are within 5 years of each other. So we
Wow.
are all so close in age, but very different in personalities and people. So, which is
Perfect.
surprising considering we grew up really close. And we didn't grow up with a lot. So, yeah, mum and dad were both working full time.
Yeah.
So I would sort of route, and mum also had a severe chronic condition. She had
Hmm.
chronic fatigue through my entire childhood. So we were very independent,
Hmm.
and which was lucky because we had a lot of bush around us. So yeah, we just used to leave in the morning and come home when it got dark and we were hungry. And yeah, we it's funny. We grew up so independently that now we all live in different parts of the world. I have a sister in Germany, a sister in New Zealand. So we're still very close,
Wow.
but geographically very far apart.
Oh, well, that's nice. What about, I know you said you've got different personalities, but were you all kind of sporty or were you
No,
obviously outdoorsy, but
no. In fact, I'm the eldest. So I grew up one of those type A personalities. Yeah, yeah. So I did really well in school. I loved that societal validation of getting A's and,
yeah.
winning races. And I was very type A. So I was very driven by achievement and success and, being better than, being better than my peers, which is, something that I've changed over time. Whereas my sisters do not give two, about what
Hoots.
anyone, very, yeah, there you go. I don't know what your beat button's like here. But they're very creative, very artistic, very in
Yeah.
the moment. So yeah, we were very different, and it must have been hard for mum because she goes, "Here's my eldest, doing well in school, never have to ask her to do her homework, goes to sport on her own," and then none of the others followed suit, and they're all, had. And they all went off and either didn't want to go to school or,
Oh,
so it was very funny, but they're all amazing. They're all the same. I'm just a little bit different.
I always feel like I'm the different one too, and being the eldest, that's kind of weird. But it is where we are now as well in life.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
when you were at school, can you remember I mean, you just touched on that you did enjoy sport and that you did well. Um, can you remember, like, was it the doing well that made you enjoy it, or were there other things that helped you to enjoy the sport side of school?
I just love sport. To be honest, there was a lot of sports I didn't do well at, and I
Yeah.
still loved them. So I was late to running. I always ran, but I didn't see it when we grew up. It wasn't really a sport. It was just
Mm-hmm.
something that you did for fun. So I used to run around the block and I used to challenge myself with running challenges, but I didn't
Wow.
compete. I was obsessed with soccer. So I played soccer right through my teenage years and ended up going to college in the US on a soccer
Oh, wow.
scholarship. Yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So for me, running was keeping fit for soccer.
Mm.
And yeah, I think being good drove me to go to college, but I think I used to dream about it. I'd wake up in my soccer boots. I just loved the game. I still
Oh,
do. The Matildas resurgence has been an amazing thing to watch. But I didn't get into running until I moved home from overseas when I was about 23.
yeah.
And I moved to Melbourne and I didn't know anyone, so there was an athletics track at the end of the just near where I lived. So I
Yeah.
actually went just to meet people, and that was the first time I was introduced to running as a social activity or as a competition or anything. And
Dandelion. Mm.
yeah, yeah. So 23 was when I started running
Wow.
officially.
You seem about 21 to me now, but anyway, moving on.
That's a while ago now.
Tell me a little bit about your time in America before we skip into the wonderful world of running.
Yeah, I mean, it was a culture shock because we grew up watching American TV, right? And so you
Mm.
think that you can relate to
Yeah.
American culture. But it was not like that at all. I moved to Iowa, to Cedar Rapids in Iowa, and it was very, very religious to the point
Mm.
where it kind of dictated everything they did. And so I guess I was 18 when I moved over there, and any 18-year-old Aussie, we've got boyfriends, we drink,
Yeah.
like we're an adult essentially.
Yeah.
Going over there, they thought that I was the wild child because I'd had a beer, I'd had a boyfriend, and it was just like a big culture shock. I remember my soccer team my coach introduced me to the soccer team, And this is in Iowa. And one of the girls said, like, turned to her friend and said, "Does she speak English?" Like, they had no understanding of what Australia was. And I was like, "Yes, I speak English." I mean, like, and just like the humor was different. College life was different. Like, for example, we couldn't, so there was fraternities, but there was no sororities because in Iowa, if you had a group of more than three women living together, it was considered a brothel. So, these rules, and we had like chaperones, and yeah, it was interesting. The soccer
Wow.
itself was phenomenal, though.
So how long were you there for?
I was there for a year and
Hmm.
then I was supposed to stay for four, but then in the end transferred after a year to England, and went to Reading University and played over in the UK. I have a UK passport and I had a visa issue, so it was like it was not in my hands. I had to
Yeah.
leave. So yeah, moved to the UK and that was, yeah, like it was weird. It was like going home. Just everyone in the UK was the same.
I got a British passport too. Anything else apart from the fact that I'm probably old enough to be your mum? There's a few things in common here. It's crazy. So yeah, it would have been. I imagine like going from what you would think is still a Western, very, we should know
Mm,
American culture. In fact, to a degree, we can be considered to be a bit American sometimes with, the things that we pick up from movies and that kind of stuff. But it's interesting that that there was more connection for you, it felt. I assume that's what you're saying in the
yes.
UK.
Yes, I immediately felt like everyone related to my communication style and my
Mhm.
sense of humor. Um, yeah, I mean, in saying that, I love the women I met in America. I had the best experience ever. I would have
Yeah.
stayed longer if I could have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, I think about it now. Had I stayed the full 4 years, maybe I never would have come home. So it's funny how the world sends you in different directions. So
Because you just become used, like all the things that we're talking about now just become your norm, and it's not so like, oh, because you just get used to it. How long do you stay in the UK for?
I was there for also a year. Loved it, and
Hmm.
then came home. I've been back many times since, but came home and finished my degree at Monash.
Hmm.
Like your daughter,
Yep.
I was a perpetual student too. I did two degrees and then a master's, and then went to do a PhD, and then decided I've spent too much on HEX.
Well,
Um,
she's in the
I,
middle of doing, yeah. She's just done a double degree and snap, 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 and is in doing her an honors year at the moment, and then I don't know what she'll do.
Probably masters.
Mind you, she did it in her double degree is zoology and theatre.
Oh wow.
And it's quite different. So what were yours in? Can you?
Yeah, I did global arts, so I did global studies, so which is
Yes.
weird. And then I did science physiology, and then I did my master's in human nutrition.
Wow. So you've spread yourself around a bit too.
Then I have a diploma of fitness, a diploma of business management. All I did was study. I'm a sponge. I love learning, and I would go back, and I even considered when tip to toe finished doing a PhD, but I just financially it's a bit harder at 34 to live off 10 grand a year than it is when you're 24.
It's not going away. I've actually
Yeah.
there's a couple here in Launceston who aren't from here, but live here. They're from overseas and they're in the middle of PhDs here, but they're both late 40s, I suppose. But anyway, so yeah, it's not something you ever have to close the door on, I don't think.
And I think I'm too active now in my mind to go back to studying full time. I'm too
Mm.
ambitious in what I want to achieve. Not that like
Yeah.
it's also very ambitious to go for a
Oh, yeah.
PhD. But I think I think it's definitely something I would like to go back to is like, yeah, learning and studying and yeah. I
Very
think I'm just,
stressful.
yeah, very stressful. I think I'm just not ready for that kind of commitment yet.
Yes, the other I did have James Brady. He was a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. He's literally just finished his, and the stress that that young man was under. It's just, I just
Oh, I
wanted to
can
give him a
imagine.
hug.
Can
Just
imagine.
really stressful. Anyway, but he was still running, and I think running was helping him through it. So that's nice to know, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're traipsing through your life. You've been in England for a year. Did you come back to Australia from there?
Yes, I came back to Australia, and that's when I started running. So I'd been playing soccer for 10 years and I just
Mm.
needed something different. Moved to Melbourne, like I said, didn't know anyone. joined Collingwood Athletics track in Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just pretty much shaped my life from here on out. I met my lifelong friends there, got sucked into the track season, the summer track season, and then into cross country. And yeah, really kind of entrenched my love for running through that. And it was Vigor Running. It's like a running club out of Collingwood that, yeah, I pretty much never missed a training session for years there.
Wow. There's a couple of things. Why did you let go of soccer was one.
Why did I?
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think at the time I just needed a break because I'd been
Mm-hmm.
playing at a really high level. And like I said, I was doing every degree at Monash. So I was a bit like, I had a full-time job and a relationship. So I was
Wow.
23. I was trying to maintain a new relationship. My last one had imploded because I was too busy and didn't have time for it. So I
Yeah.
was mindful of that. I was doing a double degree. I had a job in the Yarra Valley working like 40 hours a week, and I just couldn't commit to driving. And because I think the previous season, my performance was slipping because I was trying to juggle too much, that
Yeah.
I think it was like and then I think I got dropped a few times from the top team, which obviously affected my confidence. And I think
Yeah.
it all became too much. I had to make a call and do something different,
Yeah.
and just kind of focus in on other things. Yeah, I think that's what it was. But yeah, good question. I haven't thought about that for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, because it probably feels like a long time ago, another
Yeah.
lifetime,
Hmm.
because you've surpassed it now with running. Um, with it sounds like with running that it was the fact that you got into a group where, as a lot of people on the podcast over the time have said, like I started running for X reason, could have been to lose weight, it could have been because they're in a new place and they wanted to make some friends or whatever, but they started running for other reasons, but they stay running because of the people that they meet and that
Mm.
sort of social group that they create. It sounds like that kind of what happened for you
Yeah.
because they're still lifetime friends, lifelong friends.
Yeah. Well, that's why I stayed running, and that's why I started running. So for me, it's always
Mm.
been, I mean, in saying that, I run a lot solo. I love running. I ran all my life when I was a kid as
Mm.
well. So, yeah, I think my partner gets a bit like, I get a bit antsy if I don't run. So he's more like, get it. I do it for a lot of reasons. The top three would be the people, the places that it lets you see on foot,
Mm.
the places, the people, and I guess just like the fitness, like the experience of
Mm.
just, keeping yourself healthy, and the mindset that it puts you into is a really good one as well.
Can you remember a time where it's helped you when life's been a bit shitty?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So when you have $17 to get you through a fortnight when you're at uni, you just kind of like use your run to be like, okay, all right, I'll spend $2 on rice. You use your run to just debrief your
To do
problems.
do the numbers.
Yeah, the problems haven't changed, thankfully. But you just use it to think things
Yeah.
through. I learn when I run now because I listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
So, you go out but no, it definitely has. It's gotten me through. It's like a stress relief, right?
It is
Yeah.
totally is. Yeah. So, I mean, there's also lots of studies, which I'm sure you're aware of, where running has been shown to be doing some pretty amazing things with our neural pathways and all that sort of stuff, all that scientific way to express what's going on in our brains while we're running. And if we go running and then sit down and do an exam, or if we go running and then do something else that's mentally taxing, it's actually we do that task better. Did you use it in that way when you were doing all this study, or is it
Oh,
just
I,
happened?
yeah, I think back then I didn't do it for that. I just ran whenever it suited me, but now I do. I do a lot of keynote speaking and a lot of public speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And I always, without a doubt, run beforehand. And I've noticed that I'm so much more relaxed when I rock up. I don't have that nervous. I mean, still get nervous, but I'm
Yeah.
not jittery and anxious. I just
Yeah.
can ease into slightly more stressful settings. And like running is a hard thing, right? And every time you run, when you don't want to run, like let's say it's raining or you're tired or you don't have much time and you do it, you've done a hard thing already. So it kind of just builds your resilience, and so you can then continue to do hard things throughout the day, and they all seem a little bit easier.
What do you do? Just we'll skip right back again in a minute. But if you are scheduled to do a public speaking event early in the morning, do you just get up at like 4 and go for your run and then get dressed, or do you just turn up on the
I
stage like you
might have
literally
lost
run? I
you.
can see you. Oh, you've lost me. Can you see me? Hello. I'll just wave.
Are you there?
I am. I can hear you, but you've frozen. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Are you there now? I think I've
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
here.
Sorry about that. There
Yeah.
was a
Oh,
bit of
that's
a
all right.
break in
That's
communication.
fine. That's fine. You're a really long way away, so that happens. Um, I just have this picture of you in my mind of they set you a speaking engagement, which is early in the day, and of course you just go for a run, and then you just run literally right up onto the stage. Or is there some time between you finish the run and you get on stage?
Usually, yeah, I've usually got at least a mid-morning. I've never had a super early one. I did on my big run tip to toe, I did have a live studio talk in Sydney, and I literally ran into the studio and then had to keep running
I
because I
love
only had
it.
a time to pause my Garmin. So yes, I ran into the live studio, did the segment, and then ran out of Sydney. That was fun.
I think that's beautiful. I love it. Um, let's skip to you've okay, you've been at school, you've wanted to continue, but then sort of decided I've done enough for now. What did you do then? What did you do? Just like run out of university and find some kind of running career? I don't know. Tell me.
I built up slowly into running. I did it, but I started with my coach at the time was quite wise, and marathon running wasn't quite as trendy back in 2003. Wait,
Mhm.
2013. Sorry, I'm not that old. 2013, 2014.
Oh
Um,
my gosh, that's
and
so funny. I'm thinking I did my fastest marathon in 2013.
that's it. 2013, not 2003.
Yeah.
As a decade that's gone. Yeah, so I did a lot of 5 kilometer runs and 10 kilometer runs and the AV season, which is the Athletics Victoria
Mhm.
season and country. I was a PT for a few years, and then I was doing a run club in Caulfield, Victoria, and so I kind of was already starting to work in that area while I was doing my Masters of Nutrition, and
Mhm.
then got a corporate role. And that kind of was a good thing at the time because it created a bit of stability so I could run, at a certain time each day.
Yeah.
And towards the time my teammate, Virginia McCormick, she was Virginia Maloney back then. It was just her and I, and she was my training partner. And she was so good, like so naturally talented slash
Mhm.
hardworking that she made the Commonwealth Games team for the marathon, the Australian team.
Awesome.
Um, and we started at the same time and we built up together. And I just looked at her and I was like, we've done exactly the same thing. Why are you all the way there? Like what? And then I realized my life was very different. I used to go out a lot. I used to drink. Like she was very focused. So to her credit. So I was like, cool. All right. Well, I'm going to copy what Jin does. And see if I can't just put that same focus into my
Mhm.
own journey and see how good I get. And I learned that I'm not able to be that disciplined, firstly, but also
Good to know.
and I was like, okay, that's good. But also I did improve a lot. So towards 2017, 18, 19, I built up to the marathon and yeah, I guess got better and better as the years progressed, just naturally through training and consistency and all those good things you need to do when you're a runner.
Which taught you a lot about yourself.
Yes. Yes. Good and
Mhm.
bad.
Because that's what we are. We are good and bad. Um, so you were working as a PT at that time as well. What other work have you done?
So I got a grad role at a ingredients company called Langdon Ingredients. So I
Mhm.
worked there as a grad, and then moved through pretty much was supposed to work in the like PD lab because that's where my degree was, but
Yeah.
that type A personality rang true, and the company realized I was very organized and very driven and very like just you can give me something to do and I'll do it like pretty
Yeah.
focused. So I pulled out into organization and then operations and procurement, and it just sort of ended up within I think
CEO.
5 years. Yeah, you were not CEO, but I was managing the sister company up until 2022
Wow.
when I resigned for tip to toe. So yeah, I had a small burst of career ambition before I gave it all up for running.
That's a bit corporate.
Very corporate.
Can't imagine you too corporate.
Mhm.
Isn't that funny? Of course, apart from all the other stuff you just described, I suppose they're the being driven and motivated, the organizing and all that kind of stuff. I can see that. Yeah.
Well, I've learned now that it's not for me. Like, I know very much now that if I was to go back into it, I'd probably last a week.
So you keep talking about tip to toe. Let's tell everyone, what was that and why did that happen?
Tip to toe happened because I guess when I was a kid, growing up in the Yarra Valley, I, had this dream of just being able to run the entire length of Australia. I love Australia.
Yeah.
I think I have a wonderful country. I've definitely traveled and I think there's beauty everywhere, but I love Australia and I've always wanted to cross it. And so in COVID, I guess, I was training up to run a fast marathon and, all the races they got
Mm-hmm.
shut down. So I had all this fitness and I was like, oh, where do I direct it? Meanwhile, bubbling along in the background, I also have this big passion for the environment and conservation. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I can combine the two and launch into this kind of project, which is building this run, this expedition. And then I guess, luckily, I met my partner, who was a filmmaker or is a filmmaker,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd also lost all of his work in COVID. And so I said, oh, really ambitious goal to run the length of the country. Goes, well, I've got this amazing dream to make a documentary. And so, I mean, obviously other things blossomed, but we kind of had this shared goal, like, okay, let's do it. And so having someone else pushing me, I guess, made me go all in. And yeah, we did it on August 20th, 2022. We started in Cape York and I ran 42.2 kilometers or one marathon every day, all the way to Melbourne for 150 days.
I'm just so tired just talking about it. What did it teach you? What were some of the big lessons that you got out of that?
So much. It taught me focus
Mm-hmm.
because you had to stay focused to make sure you're always recovered for every consecutive day.
Mm.
It taught me marketing and how to build a
Yeah.
brand because I wanted to share a story, but if I wasn't telling the story if I was telling the story to deaf ears, then it's not going to be beneficial. I may as well not run. So I had to learn to change and adapt and tell a story that was captivating to others.
Mm-hmm.
Taught me confidence in myself and in my ability to build a project.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a very good person. I'm not very good at asking other people for help. And I
Mm-hmm.
definitely had to in this situation. So, endless lessons.
Yeah. Like to me, because of my background, like the online marketing since 2002, and I don't think I'm very good at it, but it's like, there's a lot of stuff leading up before you even start the run. Like you want to build an audience so that there are people following you even to start with. And then you hope that it's going to be like a ball that gathers moss as it rolls down the hill or whatever, or gathers snow. Um, can you remember what it was, like some of the bigger things when I'm running, I'm sort of trying to process my thoughts while I'm talking to you. When I'm running, I get a lot of ideas while I'm running. So did you find that as well? So I assume there was a whole bunch of stuff you had to do leading up to starting the run. Of course, you would have been running training to lead up to the start, so you probably thought about some things then. But that ball that's moving, gathering, uh, the momentum that happens when you start something like that. Did you find that that really helped? Because I assume you did a bunch of stuff before you started.
Yeah. Yeah, it
But
definitely did. So my original goal didn't even factor in the world record. So I just wanted to run
okay.
from Cape York to Melbourne any way, shape I could.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I needed like fiscal support for this because I didn't have the funds
Yeah.
myself. We did sell a lot and we did build some funds, but I would have loved to have got sponsored. So I took that original idea to market. And obviously I only reached out to brands that aligned with the sustainability ethos of
Yeah.
my campaign. And I said, hey, I'm going to run from A to B. And I got zero sponsorship offers, zero. And it was my first big lesson, and this is before it started, that every big idea needs a second big idea. And as you would know, because this is your career, that second big idea needs to be a big marketing idea. And it was my partner, I think, who said to me, I don't know, we must have been scrolling social media and the world record for most consecutive marathons had just been broken. And it was broken at 106 by a lady in the UK, or two ladies in the UK. They did it together in Scotland. And then Rye's like, why don't you do that? You have to run the distance anyway. And so that's when I thought, oh, that's a lot of pressure, 42K a day, no options for a day off. But he was right. I took that second idea to market, and within a few weeks, we had enough sponsors to kickstart the journey. And you're right, as we got more and more south and through word of mouth, through social media, everything, we built more and more, I guess, support as we went down.
I love that, because one of my questions was going to be like, you won't know this, but we took I've got 5 children. We took our 3 younger children traveling for 18 months, and we went around Australia and then around the world and did lots of stuff. Anyway, I wouldn't necessarily do a very good job of marketing it because we just had clients that came with us and we worked online with them. But a lot of people would say to us, how are you even doing this? How are you able to step out of your life? And I often, even now, having done those kind of things, I look at someone like you and I think, well, how long did it take? Would 150 something, whatever days, half a year. How do you take half a year out of your life and dedicate it to something like that?
Yeah, we just went all in. And
Yeah,
everybody asks me that. And I think
exactly.
it's honestly my personality. Like, I think I don't have it's led me astray more than it's led me positive. I've got a very impulsive, very all-in personality. And there was only one moment, and I remember it clearly, on day 17 when my calf was injured, and there was a lot of doubt over whether I could continue running. Only in that moment did I think, oh my parents have taken long service leave, bought a $30,000 camper trailer to come and make sure they joined me for the first 6 weeks until I got out of the Cape, because I think they're a bit worried about how remote it was. My partner had quit all his jobs. He'd put in a year's worth of work. I'd quit my job and I was on an amazing salary. I'd got all these sponsors on board, and now on day 17, I might not be able to, like, that. In that moment, I felt the pressure, but quitting my job was very exciting. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's just a default to the positive.
Yeah.
And I hope that doesn't change. I know that you can definitely get a little jaded as you get older in life, but I just hope that I continue to always default to a positive outcome.
Well, being someone who's quite a bit older than you, I'm the same. No, I'm only saying it as in it's not going to, if you don't let it, I'm the same. Like I quit jobs all the time in order without a fallback position, because I want the change and I'm excited actually by the change and what the possibilities are, because you take away something that something else is going to fill that void as well.
Absolutely.
Positive and exciting.
Yeah, and like if you look in your bank account and you quit your job and you're like, oh no, I've got $17, like that's where change happens. That's when you find who you really are, when you need to,
Yeah.
You've really got to hustle.
So true. So you're hustling, good segue.
Yep.
Down Australia. Off you go. So you obviously made it. Well, maybe it's not obvious. Tell everyone.
Yes,
How
I
did it
did
go?
Yes, I did make it. I did 150 marathons, doubled. So the fundraising goal originally was to raise $10 per kilometre for my partner charity, the Wilderness Society. We doubled that. I think we raised 130,000. Yeah, and made it to Melbourne in relatively one piece. So I would call it a relatively successful mission.
That's amazing. I didn't realize, I mean, I think I did see it in some of your stuff, but the world record side of it, it just seems like there's people running marathons all over the place for like world records of one sort or another. I didn't realize until you said that you'd just broken the one that had happened just before you as well. I went, oh, look at that.
Yeah,
That's
and I
quite
mean,
amazing.
it's such a popular record. So breaking news, there's a lady in Belgium who's just broken mine.
Oh my gosh. So what are you going to do?
I'm not going to go again.
What was the hardest bit? I mean, was that day 7 or 17 or whatever it was when you had the injury? Was that the hardest moment, do you think, or was there other moments that were pretty
It was
tricky?
definitely one of the hardest moments. I think the
Mm.
actual hardest moment was day. So the record to break was, so the previous was 106. So on day 107, I broke the record. And that day was one of the best days of my life. Day 108 and day 109 were one of the worst because I was like, I've broken the record. I'm tired and I have 43 marathons that I have to still run. Why did I say this? And then not only that, I broke it in December the 6th or 4th. I
Oh,
used to. And then I ran
Christmas.
through Christmas and I ran through New Year's Eve where everybody was not interested in what anyone, like they were just, internalizing into their families and
Yeah.
which is good. That's what they should be doing. So I was in the middle of Canberra on Christmas and I remember thinking to myself, why did I make it 150? Why didn't I just say, I'm going to break the record? I could be done by now. I could be home for Christmas. So that bit was rough too. But like they always say, the hardest part is right before the best bit. And the second, I think from the 2nd of January to the 16th when I finished was magic. It was just magic. So
Like
it was worth
floating.
it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh. As you were traveling down, like, and forgive me, everybody, because I put my marketing head on, and I'm watching Tim Franklin coming I don't think he's got there yet, or he might have just got, the
No,
traveling.
no, he's going to be on the Gold Coast this weekend. I'm going to go for a
Oh,
run
there
with
you go.
him.
Yeah. So I knew he's finishing real soon. So anyway, um, I don't know how you continue to do that marketing, every day. Like you're doing a marathon every day, and like you've got your partner. You must have, are there other people who are also supporting in that situation?
Not what my partner was. My partner probably pulled the same shift every day
Mm.
that I pulled. So he would film in the morning and then he would cook lunch and dinner and pack up. So every day he would
Wow.
pack up the camper trailer, move it forward, do all the filming, set it back up again, 42 kilometers south, edit, help me respond to media. He was also hustling the media. So then when I got to
Yeah.
the next, they would be ready.
Hmm.
He worked so it'd be nights where I would fall asleep at 8:30 and he would still be working till 9, 10 at night,
Wow.
like every day. So there was a lot of community support. I had a lot of people, which I was so thankful for, send me a message of, hey, when you're running through Toowoomba, meet me here and I'll show you the trails. So I'll show you the best parts of Toowoomba or
Yeah.
I'll show you the best parts of Bright. And so that took a lot of pressure off me having to think about it. I just would
Yeah.
rock up, be a group of people and I could just follow and they would kind of drag me through. A lot of people gave me food. So there was a lot of community support, but actually with me on a day-to-day level logistics, it was just
Yeah.
just just the two of us.
It's just that, because of my understanding from the marketing side of it, that it doesn't, like, it looks like it happens like a breeze when people just watch, like, oh, look, there's another video. Look, doesn't it look lovely? And off they go. Oh, look, here's tomorrow's video. And it's like, but I know there's a lot of work that goes into that. And, for half an hour's worth of video that's been shot, it probably takes 3 hours to edit it, for this kind of, yeah,
Probably more. So we just did the speed project. So I just ran from Santa Monica to Las Vegas 2 months ago or a month ago.
I watched.
Yeah, and Rye did a daily reel, and he got, I think, 2.5 to 3 hours of sleep a night for the whole week because
That's
he
great.
was so hard.
It's probably, for those of you who are not aware, video aware, what goes on in the background, probably 3 minutes it's probably 30 hours, maybe not 30 hours, but 3 hours worth of editing for 3 minutes, something like that. It is actually ridiculous, the amount of,
Yeah,
to do a really good job, that is.
that's the thing, and I think when you've got expectations of quality that's
Mm.
quite high, you want to meet those expectations, and that kind of reverts back to the storytelling. In saying that, I'm definitely not an expert, and I've seen some social media pages where I'm like, how is this so popular? And it's just got millions of followers, and I do not have the answers.
I don't know how to tell you this, but one of my sons, my younger one, has been a TikTok influencer over the last few years and made a lot more money than I make online. And all he does is yell at people. Mm.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
storytelling. I'm like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't get
Yeah.
it either. And
Yeah.
I like to say that. I'm like, everyone's like, oh, do you have any advice? I'm awful. Like, ask
Yeah.
ask the ones with like millions of followers.
And even they're not really sure often.
Yeah.
It's kind of all these things, the stars need to align sometimes, I think, as well as all the good intentions. All right. You
Yeah.
finished this. You did this great big world record. Yay. What happens next?
Good question. I slept for 3 months, pretty much. Yeah, for three. And it was hard because I had all of this momentum off the back of the
Exactly.
campaign. Way better than I ever anticipated it to go.
Mhm.
Yeah, we did a lot of media in the week after, and then I had and like you said, when you think about things you want to do while you're running, I did that for 6 months. I had this huge list of world-changing things I wanted to do, and then I got home and had no energy to do any of them.
Yeah.
So
They're
I
also
just,
possible when you're running and you're just thinking about it.
yeah, but actioning them was completely different. So I slept a lot, and then yeah, and then it was a bit of a whirlwind year. I just a lot of opportunities came up that I did a bit of um, yeah, a bit of filming stuff. We're finishing a documentary that is coming out soon, hopefully. We're in the final stages. So that's been my partner's project that I've been helping out with. And
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people said, what was it, July of 2022, everyone said, oh, you can't say you've ran the length of mainland of Australia because you haven't done Tasmania. And you would probably vouch for that as a
I
Tasmanian.
would totally.
So then in July, I ran from Devonport to Hobart just to make sure I'd done Tasmania
Good,
as well.
good girl. Well, we're happy now.
I didn't want to exclude Tassie. It's also one of my favorite states. Well, probably my favorite state. So
So you did it in the coldest time.
yeah, it was freezing. I went through the national trail, the Tasmanian Trail, the
Yes,
big
I
one.
do. Yeah. Yeah. But you went downhill, if you can.
Yeah, I did the easy way.
That's right. You went downhill. I bet it was the best bit of all of Australia, though.
It was beautiful. It was the coldest bit of all of Australia.
I bet it was. So to Dover. Did you stop in Dover? I think that's where the Tassie Trail finishes.
I didn't go the whole way. I stopped in Hobart, so
You
don't tell anyone.
cheated.
I did check. Yeah. Yeah.
Cheated.
Oh, so the purpose was it was another environmental story, and I had these letters from these girls, young girls in Melbourne. I was going to deliver them to Parliament, so I ran them to Parliament. So I stopped at
Oh,
Parliament House.
oh, that's awesome. So good.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And I also ran to Melbourne and not to Wilson Sprong, so I cheated on two accounts.
That's all right. We won't tell anyone. Because you didn't
Yeah.
run across King Island either. You haven't done that yet either.
But
Or,
nobody flew.
or
Barely did
actually,
it.
yeah, the King Island run goes across. You should really go from the top to the bottom. It gets a bit longer, like double.
A
Like
lot more.
six.
There's always more to run.
That's right. There's always one around. Um, what does it look like now? So obviously, is your life just full of little challenges that you just, not little, sorry, big challenges that you dream up and then work out how to make them happen? Is that how you envisage your life going to be from now on? Tell me about it.
It has been like that. Yes, it's been a very adventure-y couple of years. I have a very I love adventure, so it's kind of
Me
my
too.
perfect life. I've just come back from the US doing a big adventure over there. But right now, as we speak, I'm
Mhm.
taking a bit of a break, letting my body recover just for a little while. And I've got a few road races coming up. I'm going to be the one of the ambassadors for Gold Coast Marathon and then Sunshine Coast Marathon. So I'll definitely dive in and lean into those. But I think I'm going to give myself a few months off just to completely recover because I think I keep diving in a little bit too soon and I'm definitely starting to get very tired.
How is your body? I mean, I know it's tired, and I have seen in a couple of the video things I've watched of yours, the odd little injury, like your foot blowing up completely in America. I have no idea how you were running with one running shoe and one thong at one point. What do you flip flop if you're American? I don't know how you were doing that.
Yeah, that was an overuse injury for sure. Just in my Tibant, I hadn't trained to do a 500K race. I only had 2.5 months notice to do the race. So that was just because I didn't give it a break. No, my body is very good. I know what it takes to train for these things.
Mm.
And I've been with, my partner for 3.5 years. And of that 3.5 years, I've been training for something for and 0.4 of those. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna not wake up at 5 a.m. and, have breakfast at home and just for a little while. I'm not very good at it, so I'm sure something will pop up soon. But I'm just trying to give myself the emotional break that you sometimes need from being very
Yeah.
focused.
So are you doing any work at the moment? What does that look like? Or are you
I'm a
just
running
working together? So the running coach?
Yep. So I'm a run coach. I'm a nutritionist.
Yeah.
I'm developing, well, not developing, I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm creating a race that's a fundraiser for Currumbin Wildlife Hospital in Burleigh Heads next year. It's going to be a beach race,
Oh,
or an event on the beach. I'm doing a few things. I wear a lot of hats.
I think so. I will ask you later for some links as well, and we'll put it all with the show notes so people can keep an eye, not just on your Instagram, but anything else that you want to refer people to, because you just got lots of fingers and lots of pies, and they're all very exciting and adventurous that I think many of us will want to keep an eye on what you're doing because it's
Oh,
fun.
thank you.
So
Yeah,
I think,
I love coaching. It's so rewarding watching your athletes like hit their PBs. And I know how
yeah.
good it do it. And I've had so many failures in the running world when something does go wrong. I'm like, I can sympathize. I know exactly how that feels. So yeah, it's been really great.
Do you have any running goals in the, like, say, I know that not right now because you're resting, but like in the before the end of the year, for example,
Oh, not before the end of this year, but I do have
next
two
year?
running goals. I want to go for a marathon PB. So I want to run a 2:40. I want to run a sub 2:45 marathon.
Hmm.
Um, I never got my chance because that's when COVID hit, and I haven't just had the speed to do it since tip to toe.
Yeah.
And completely opposite to that, I would like to do a backyard ultra to the best of my ability, which is, over here, and they don't, mesh, but they're the two that I'd like to do.
Are you a road or a trail person in your head?
Road. I've always been road,
Interesting.
but lately I've been moving to trail.
I think it happens as you get older. Like some people go trail all the time, like to start there. But yeah, I just love the trail now. I hate road now. It's
See,
the wrong thing to say. I just really
no,
like
I'm
trail.
racing on the road, but running on the trails.
Mm,
Mm.
mm.
I love
It's,
both. Yeah.
it's just more forgiving now. I think once, because I'm now well past, oh, I want to run faster, it's just being able to get out there and be in nature. And it's always different. And I just love the change. Even in the same trail, it's different every day. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. I've got this one loop, my local loop in Burleigh that just hits all the trails or all the bush. And yeah, I do it every day. I love it.
Why are you in Queensland? I didn't ask that. I don't know how you got there. We haven't got that in this little story that we've had, unless you just sort of saw it on your run down Australia and went, oh, I think I'll come back here.
No, I moved up here in COVID because Melbourne was horrendous,
Yeah.
a really bad stint, and met my partner who then did tip to toe. And since I've met him, he moved to Melbourne with me for my corporate job
Yeah.
for a year in lockdown. So he did an awful year in Melbourne lockdown with me, and then
Oh,
he the length of the country and worked for 6 months without getting paid. And then we did Tasmania and then America. So I said, after all of that moving around, where do you want to live? And we picked the Gold Coast,
oh.
Queensland.
Well, I guess it's a bit warmer than Tassie. You could come down here
Yeah.
in summer. It's quite nice here in summer.
Oh, I would do 6 months. I would do Tassie in summer and winter here. It's perfect here. If you want to come up, this is the best time of
Yeah.
year to come.
I've just come back from Noosa and I'm going, actually, here's a bit of brag point because I love adventure too. We've got friends who are sailing around Australia and we're getting on in about 4 weeks on the yacht in Darwin and going through to Broome for about six
Wow.
weeks up in the Kimberley. Very excited. Adventure. I've got to work out how I run though with crocodiles, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. Hey, do you know, have you heard of Bonnie Hancock?
No.
So she paddled around in a surf ski. She paddled the entire perimeter of Australia. She's a local. She's a friend of mine. She reminds me of that because she did that on a surf ski that same leg, and she said she saw crocodiles everywhere.
Was she on any of those we watched the ocean movie and
Oh no, her movie. She's just released her documentary. It's on Foxtel, Fox Sport,
oh
Foxtel or
my
Fox
gosh.
Sport.
Well,
Bonnie
I'd love
Hancock.
to.
It's called Diamond of the Sea. I recommend it.
I'll look that up. You might even put the link into the
Yeah.
even the non-running sport thing into
Non-running link. I will full disclosure.
which is just fine. Um, Now we've established that you're more of a road person at the moment, but you're leaning towards trails because, well, that's what all sensible people do. You didn't say that. I'm putting words into your mouth. That's all right. I'm allowed to do that because it's my podcast. Um, I always ask people on the podcast when they first called themselves a runner. And it's interesting when we look back at the story you've told us. When do you think that you first thought in your head, I'm a runner? Because you've been a soccer player and whatever
Yeah,
else as well.
that's a good question. I think I've always been a runner. I can't think of a time because even when I was playing soccer, I was still running at school. I was always
Yeah.
running and soccer. I just prioritized soccer. But I think I've never had a defining, I think I just was born a runner.
I think, well, secretly, but not secretly, the best kept secret is I think we were all born runners and a lot of
Thank
us just
you.
forgot. I think we're
Are
all,
rediscovering themselves.
that's right, exactly. So when you get injured, how do you deal with that in the fact that we've sort of established that your identity is, one element of your identity is as a runner? How do you deal with it when you are injured? Like, what do you do?
So
What
the
do you say to
truth is,
yourself?
I've only had two injuries in my that I can think of in my life. One, I didn't stop running. It was the calf injury. And
Mm-hmm.
then the ankle injury, I didn't stop running and it luckily healed. And I had one very brief hip issue after running 42. I haven't been injured for more than 48 hours in my life.
Touch
So
wood.
I cannot sympathize with that. And I understand because there's other things that have
Mhm.
kept me from running, like
Yeah.
illness or
Yes.
forced recovery. And so I do know what it feels like, but I've luckily, touch wood, haven't had a serious injury.
Well, it's probably even that coming off, you were a soccer player. Your identity at that high level like
Yeah,
it would have been quite wrapped around it. Though, so that's one of the reasons I asked the question earlier, like why you stopped, because making those decisions, it's interesting. Hmm.
I'm struggling now more than I ever have in my life because I'm trying to not run as much and I
Mm.
don't have a goal and I'm really, really struggling with it. Like I find it's making me unhappy. My partner keeps reinforcing me that I'm not only a runner and I have other identity aspects.
Yeah.
But it's definitely been, and I think it's what's made me realize I think I'm very addicted to exercise, which is another reason that I'm trying to back off. But yeah, it's tough. I keep thinking that a 10K run's not a run. I'm like, oh, it's just a 10K run. It's a rest day.
Love that. I've been doing a streak, but I only have to run 2Ks a day. But then recently I got COVID and I had to drive from Noosa to Sydney as well a week before last. And then I got COVID. And I decided after 600, I'm looking at my little chart because I'm the kind of person who has to cross it off and look at the numbers as uh, I'm up to like 600 and something days in a row. But instead
Wow.
of running, I decided that it was okay because I can make my own rules up. Even through all of that, I've walked 2Ks at least every day, even when I had COVID and stuff. So I've just
Amazing.
adjusted it now. But we just do, like we create things that support who we think we are, to support our current identity. But your identity isn't sort of stuck in stone either. It can ebb and flow through the seasons of our lives. It doesn't have to be one thing. And just releasing that, because I'm very type A as well. It took me a long time to decide I could walk 2K and it's my rules and I don't have to, so I have to say it on the podcast as I've said it out in public now. So, to me, I'm still in my streak. I'm still moving at least 2Ks a day. A few months ago, I did 100 kilometers in a day with a run. So yeah, anyway, it's just more about that identity and how we deal with it. So we don't get too tied up in it because we can, and it can be quite destructive if we're not careful. If we don't
Yeah, yeah,
look
I
at it.
agree.
Hmm.
I find streaks destructive because I'm very much like I will not lose a streak.
That's
I
right.
had a similar walking streak on my Garmin, and I think I had a flight and I lost a day, and it like ruined my Garmin walking streak, and I think it ruined my mood. It's like I should never be so
Right.
tired to are like green lines, you know. It's
I'm
just
like, we went to Hawaii last year, and I tell you what, the calculations I was doing in my head about whether my streak was going to fit into the 24-hour period, that was all that was important. Like I wasn't going to be flying for 24 hours, and it was definitely going to, my brain was very,
no,
anyway,
that's
tight.
the thing. Consumes you.
Type A. See, this podcast is just my therapy. Get through
Very
all this.
good. Gets it out.
That's right. Oh dear. So thank you for helping and being the receptor of all of that. Everyone who's listening as well. What do you think motivates you? Like we touched on it a little bit earlier, but what do you think motivates you to keep pushing? Yes, you're a type A, and yes, you're all this. Like, what makes you step out the door every day and either go for a run or try and resist going for a run? But
Yeah, good question. I use this a lot I speak about this a lot with my clients because I don't need motivation at the moment or for the last few years because it's so ingrained in my routine that it's not it's not motivation that gets me out the door. It's just what I do. So I wake up and I run. It's non-negotiable. It's not something I debate with myself. There's no internal dialogue. And that just developed over time. And I think time is the factor there. Whereas a new client who's not used to doing that, who goes, oh, but it's so much nicer to lay in bed and has that internal almost argument with themselves every morning going, shouldn't I? That's where I don't have that conversation. I just go. And I tell them, and like, these conversations are normal. It's a habit forming. It's routine forming. The more you do say yes and go and run, the more resilient your routine will become, and it will be less, I guess, it won't fluctuate when life gets a bit,
less resistant.
Life. Yeah. And so for me, I will always find time to run because it's just what I do. It's my priority in the day. So motivation, I wouldn't say is what keeps me running. Motivation drives me if I'm hurting and I need to get somewhere and I've got like a why. And I think if that is the case, I need motivation. My why is always my motivation, whatever my why is for that particular event or race or run. If that answers the question.
Yeah. So like you were talking before, you are on the hunt for a faster marathon time, for example. So that will become a why as you lead towards an event once you choose what that is.
Yes, absolutely. And for the backyard, my why, my motivation will be trying to hit, whatever, 100 miles to whatever I choose. But yeah, without a specific goal right now, my motivation isn't as much there, but I'm just lucky. It's just I love running and that's my motivation enough.
That's actually one of the reasons I started my streak in some ways. Like just because it just became like brushing my teeth. Like I've always run, but it just became, how am I going to fit my 3 or 4 days of running in? Now it's like, well, I run every day, so I don't even work that out. It's just what I do. So it should have changed that way. You're a morning runner? I think I've heard you say it a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, I do not like running in the evening. I feel sluggish and tired, and that's when I need motivation to get out the door. In the morning, I love it. I get up and I just go. What about yourself?
I prefer it in the morning. If I have to do it in the afternoon, it'll be because I'm, running with people. And so that the motivator will be because I don't, like I said, I will, and so I will, that kind of thing, rather than, I'm more of a morning. I always say like to just get it over with and then I feel good that I've done something hard, even if it was an easy one.
Yeah, it's a good way to start the day.
It is. I love it. When you look back, what do you think your life would be like now if you hadn't run, but from a positive perspective, what has your running given you that maybe you would have missed out on if you hadn't adopted running the way you have?
So many things. I think I've surrounded myself with the type of person, like runners are usually pretty great. I don't know many not great runners, so I've learned a lot from the people that I've met.
I'm a bit biased.
Yeah, a bit biased. I've seen some parts of the world that I never, ever, ever would have seen if I didn't run.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like to say I definitely have tried my bit to, just inspire other people to move as well. And just, I'm not just, I'm a nutritionist, like I love health and just looking after your body and respecting your body. So yeah, if I can just kind of encourage people to run and get outside and chase dreams, and that's pretty cool too. I just so many things. It's just I could just keep going on.
Running is the best.
It's just so exactly. Yeah.
Can you reflect on a time where everything just flowed? It doesn't have to have been a race. It doesn't have to, it could have just been a training run or whatever. Is there a time that stands out where, and it probably happens all the time, but can you reflect on one in particular where everything just seemed to be perfect?
Yeah. Um, I think it's perfect. I mean, I did the Brighton Marathon in the UK and
Mm-hmm.
actually Melbourne Marathon in 2019 as well, where I
Mm-hmm.
just felt good
Yeah.
and it all came together. And I just remember crossing the finish line with the biggest smile on my face in those two occasions. And I just, yeah, so there's definitely been some marathons where it's flowed, um, thousands of training runs where it's all just
Yeah.
clicked. And it always feels pretty good when you first like crack a PB, particularly if it's a PB you've been working on for a while. Um, yeah, there's lots. I could like the first time I broke 10 minutes for the 3K was pretty special. The first time I finished a marathon was pretty special because my first attempt was a failure. There's
Oh,
yeah, well, as in not a failure, I just went out way too fast and
it
only made
teaches
it
us more when we fail.
exactly. So yeah. Yeah, there's been more than not good ones. More good ones than not good ones.
What do you think running offers people who don't run? Like, what do you think it can offer them? So do many people come to you who are starting running, or are they coming to achieve goals, or a bit of both?
Both.
Hmm.
I think it brings confidence if you're not a runner and you want to start running. It
Hmm.
brings confidence in your ability. I mean, I could just tomorrow right now if I needed to run within 50 kilometers of my house, I could. Like I could
Yeah.
get there. So it gives you confidence. It gives you community. There's an entire community here that is very supportive. There's a lot of health benefits. There's a lot of mental benefits just being out in the wilderness and nature and being outside. And yeah, I mean, there's probably 1,000 more, but
Mm.
yeah, I'm a big fan of the community and the feel good. The runner's high.
I love it. And I love that you're, making a living in partly with the running as well. I think that's incredible. And yeah, more power to you. So thank you for sharing it with the world. It's just awesome because you're sharing that inspiration as well, which inspires other people to start running. Um, I've already kept you for ages, so thank you for being so patient with me. I appreciate it. Although you did say, I can't imagine that you went for 2 hours with someone, and I was like, I did.
Oh, I can't imagine. I reckon like I love to I could talk for hours. I think the concern is my battery, which started at 80%, now on 11, and I was just being like, all right, when it gets to 8%, I'll tell you.
That's crazy. Oh, anyway, okay. Well, we're wrapping it up now anyway. Is there anything, well, we don't want to lose you. Is there anything about running that you want to share that we haven't touched on before we wrap up in a minute?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned when I before I started tip to toe, I didn't expect that I could do this. I never ran two marathons in a row. So the biggest lesson that I've learned is that you are capable of so much more than you
Mm,
think you are. So
yeah,
why not give it a try? You don't have to be as risk kind of as spontaneous as I am. You can still have that kind of risk averse tendencies, but you may as well just try. Even if you just try, go out of your comfort zone a little bit further every single day. There's so much growth in that space.
it's beautiful. I love that. Now,
Mhm.
I ask everyone in the podcast before we wrap up for some tips for beginner runners. So you're very well positioned to provide me some tips for runners.
Tips for runners. It always feels hard when you start. Don't let that discourage you.
Mhm.
The right shoes will make way more of a difference than you can imagine. So I highly recommend getting a shoe fitting at a proper store versus just buying shoes that everyone else is wearing from the internet because we are all different.
Good idea.
Um, Never compare yourself to others. We're all on our own journey.
Hmm.
Um, and you will find even in your own running journey that there'll be times where you were very fit, times that you were very unfit. So don't even compare yourself to where you once were.
Yeah.
Just and find the love in it because sometimes it's hard, but if you always fall back onto that love, it will be a bit easier.
We promise.
We promise. Look at us, we're
Look at
obsessed.
us. All right. Thank you so much for being on. Don't jump off straight away, but hopefully your battery will last long enough for me to talk to you off the recording. Thank you so much. It has been a delight. I knew it would. We could go for another 2 hours, but we won't because your battery won't last.
Our batteries will. This one won't.
Yeah, exactly. Our batteries will. We could talk for hours now. Thank you. It has been a delight. Like I said, I'm going to put all the links that I get out of you into the show notes so people can follow up and keep an eye on you and see what you're doing, because it is so inspiring. And I really do appreciate you being in the world and sharing running the way you are. I just love it. So thank you. Big fan.
Thanks for having me. It's been a really fun chat. It's been great.
Thank you for listening to the FitMIND FitBODY podcast. I'd love to talk to you about your running journey. Send me a message on Facebook or on the website and let's do it. I also wanted to let you know that I've created an email list so you won't miss any podcast episodes. You'll find details in the show notes and on the FitMIND FitBODY website, along with a bunch of resources on mindful running. They'll help you to get and stay mentally and physically fit. And I'll see you there. Plus, I'll be back here in your podcast player a few times a week. Hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And before you go, I'd really appreciate it if you would leave a review. It'll help more people to find the podcast and get inspired to start running and ultimately to improve their life. See you soon.